there's one thing I learned about myself over the past few years is that I have an issue communicating. Not that I'm terrible at expressing myself, but I have a tendency to compartmentalize my life. Okay, so for example, if I planned to go to Arima, okay, so I inform my loved ones I'm going to Arima, but then I get to Arima and I realize that, oh no, I need something else that is not available in Arima. So then I head to West Mall. But West Mall, that particular branch that I was going to, doesn't have it. So they send me to South Park. Now, I'm in urgent need of the item, so I need to get it for today. I leave West Mall and I go straight to South Park. In the mix of all of that, my loved ones would only know that I went to Arima and expecting me to come back from Arima. So you can see how I deviated from my original plan without informing anybody. I mean, to some people that might not be a big deal, you know. But in this society where an 18-year-old girl is leaving home to go to her grandmother's house and never makes it, that's a cause for concern. You can see where I'm going with this, right? So this bad habit of mine was creating like panic and anxiety with my loved ones. But Cylo seemed to solve that for me. Before I continue this video, I wasn't in any way sponsored or asked to do this video on behalf of Cylo Tracking. I just wanted to share with my audience my experience with this company. So who is Cylo Tracking? Cylo is a GPS tracking company. But there's a difference between, this is not Waze, this is not Google Maps. That's GPS navigation. GPS tracking tracks your car in real time. But it's not going to give you turn-by-turn directions of a destination. It's not something that you could input an address and you could find directions to where you want to go. So it allows you to track your vehicle in real time, and this is critical if your vehicle is stolen and you need to find it. So how did I become a customer? In April of 2019, I purchased my standard tracker, that is the unit without the immobilizer, for my car at a cost of what it is today, $998. So a technician came to my workplace and installed it for me. I gave him the cash. I think I had to download an app and I spoke to an agent over the phone, and after that, within minutes, I was a customer. But you may be asking, why was I so sold on GPS, or why did I decide to go with Cylo in the first place? So here are a couple of reasons. So number one, for most people, would be cost. It works out to be about $60 a month. I mean, in shopping around, I was seeing other companies were charging for GPS tracking in excess of $200 a month. So right off the bat, it was cheaper. The application was easy to use. I've had some friends who would have bought GPS units off of Amazon. They bought their own SIM card, installed it themselves. But what I found that they had to do, and I'm not saying that this is the only way as it is now, remember, this is a couple of years ago. They had to purchase their own SIM card. They have to make sure that the SIM card, the data SIM, has money on it or the bill is being paid. And from their experiences, they didn't have an application to see the vehicle actually moving within real time. They communicated with the vehicle via text messaging. So I'm like, that's kind of like a hassle. So I was, I wasn't going through that. Thirdly, included in the cost is a vehicle retrieval service. So if your vehicle is stolen, you give them a call and they send a contracted security firm, I think they have, to retrieve your vehicle for you. So data and history of where you've driven to or where your vehicle has driven to is critical. Some companies, when I was shopping around, could have only given you up to 3 months of data. Cylo gives you 1 year's worth of data. That's 12 months. And just to add to that, this data feature became even more important and meaningful to me since the COVID pandemic became a thing. When we talk about contact tracing, my GPS unit became a critical tool in my personal contact tracing. I didn't have to worry so much about where I was. People use Google locations on their phone, which, I mean, raises some privacy concerns, but the GPS system on my car really gave me some peace of mind with respect to tracking during the pandemic. Okay, so let me just show you the app real quick. The website actually has a free version of the desktop app, so I'm not gonna go through that. I'm using data from my phone. So this is the location of my vehicle right now that I'm in, and this is where I am filming this. It's Trinity Mall, True Value parking lot. So that's my location at the moment. So if I go down here, I could select different maps. This is hybrid, satellite, terrain. I have some options here. Enable clustering is off. Show device sensors. Show tails. Geofencing to my location. Enable auto zoom. If I go to the top, I have events. I don't have any events data. I think they have to add that there. History. This one is what I was talking to you about. 18 January. Let me just go 15th January until today. Search. My data is a bit slow. This is how it'll come up. You select here. This is statistics graph. It's speed. I don't know if it has elevation, but it has speed, stop duration, move duration, and the map actually gives you a whole track, and it tells you where you've parked up. And I think you can actually play the track back, which is good. And this is just another way of presenting the same data on the route. So that one is actually my favorite function. Tools. I think these things you have to talk to Cylo's office for. I'm not sure. Set up support my account and log off. So yep, that's basically it. So here's what I've learned about tracking and my experience using this system overall. GPS tracking is, your interaction with it is similar to how you would treat your CCTV system at home. And some people have a set it and forget it approach when it comes to CCTV cameras, and it's only when an incident has happened and you want to pull the footage, you realize this camera stopped working, and you realize something's wrong. So here's the thing. In the beginning, when I just installed the system, I installed the app on my loved ones' devices. And I think because of the novelty of having a GPS unit and the ability to track and see a car move in real time, my loved ones were telling me that the app was only signing them out. Even though we were selecting the Remember Me function, it was just signing them out. So because of the novelty of it is the reason why they were checking so much, and they were able to actually pinpoint that issue with the app. And as time progressed, naturally, all of us, including me, just stopped checking the app, and it eventually caught up to us when it came time for my 1 year renewal. So 2 weeks prior to my renewal date, I get this email reminding me to renew my subscription. But to be honest, financially it wasn't a priority. I had some things going on, and I was looking to cut my expenses somewhat, the pandemic, the uncertainties. So I was really considering not renewing. But again, as I would have mentioned, as to one of my reasons for getting GPS in the first place, specifically since the pandemic began, was for personal contact tracing. So I ended up renewing 76 days after my due date. That's about 2.5 months after. And naturally, I was under the assumption that my billing would actually be active from the date of payment. But what I didn't realize is it's actually from the bill date based on your initial payment. So I lost 2.5 months of service by paying my subscription late. So I renew my subscription, and naturally I check the application to see that I'm connected, to see that I'm seeing my vehicle, and I'm seeing it. So I'm back on with Cylo. So a couple of weeks after that, my dad borrowed the car, and I didn't want to call him to ask him where he was, to have him rush what he was doing to get back home. So I opened the app and I checked the car, and the car is saying that it's home. So I'm like, I look outside, the car is not home. And yeah, so I called Cylo immediately. They remotely ran some diagnostics, and they couldn't do what they needed to do remotely, so they sent me to the technician's house. Just bearing in mind that the last time a technician would have come to me, now I needed to go from where I was, closer to St. Augustine, to Arima, Malabar, to this technician's house. So the long and short of it is, the technician, he opens up where the GPS unit is, and he's like commenting on the workmanship that was done to install the unit initially. So I don't know if that was a cause. He didn't say that was the cause. I don't even know if he could have told that was the cause that the unit broke down in the first place. But I'm like, interesting. Okay. But after that, I was back up and running. And I mean, truthfully, I didn't have any other issues again after that with the app signing out and all of that. So I was good. Several things crossed my mind after that renewal experience. I acknowledge that I was late in paying my fee. But I think the bigger issue is when the renewal emails started pouring in, I wondered if there was anyone on Cylo's end that was actually checking the health of my device. Was there any way to know that the device itself started malfunctioning? At least from my end, it would have been difficult to detect when the device actually started malfunctioning, even I think before my subscription was up. Because remember, even in the early days with the novelty of getting the device and we were checking it religiously, we noticed the app was signing us out, and that was the only malfunction we had ever experienced. Had it not been for that experience of the car actually leaving home and I checking it to see where it was, we would not have realized that there was a malfunction. Suppose my vehicle was stolen and the device was malfunctioned. Cylo Tracking would have been able to do nothing to help me. Suppose I went missing and my loved ones were checking the app. This would have done little to nothing to save my life. And another thing is, one of Cylo's selling points, which is one of them that got me, was their 1 year's worth of tracking history. Now, that changed when the device was swapped out. I thought that the data was being saved to my account on the mobile app or some cloud-based, I don't know, maybe I was imagining. But the device history is saved on the device itself. So when the device that was malfunctioning was actually changed out, there was no data prior to its malfunction being stored, at least for my retrieval. So that's something for you to bear in mind. So my renewal for my subscription is coming up pretty soon, and to be honest, I'm having second thoughts about continuing on. Yes, as much and as important as having a GPS service is, I'm in the process of exploring other options. The ironic thing is, even though I was late in paying my subscription fee, a strong possibility exists that I actually paid for service time that I didn't even use prior to my subscription being up last year. And yes, while the replacement of the device in my car was free, it's scary to think that it malfunctioned, and if I didn't check on it, it probably wouldn't have been detected. This in no way is to limit you in going with this company. Perhaps the device that I got initially was just faulty, and these things happen, right? But what I'm telling you is to know your own limitations, because this requires a responsibility on your part to keep checking on it and to hold your service providers accountable for the highest level of customer service and to deliver on everything that they would have promised you when you became their customer. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful in some way, and until next time,